Hi, my name is Bill.
And I'm his wife, Christy.
And today we're going to be sharing with you my family's recipe for making fantastic meatballs. The first thing you start out with is 3 different kinds of meat. I typically use a pound of beef, a pound of ground veal, and a pound of ground pork. The different meats are typically used to create a better flavor for the meatballs, and that's the way my grandmother used to do it. After you have those in a bowl, the next thing you'll do is you'll add the eggs. For this quantity of meat, I usually use about 2 eggs. If you find that it's not binding enough with the 2 eggs, you can always add a third depending upon the size of the eggs. So we just put them in the bowl. The next thing we will add is we will add some breadcrumbs. I'm just going to do it by feel and use 2 big handfuls. This can be added as you go on and put the meatballs together, again, if there's not enough to bring them together. The next thing that we would add is we would add some Parmesan cheese. Again, this is really by feel. I'll use for this quantity of meat about 2 handfuls. And you can always add more of this when you serve it.
All right, for extra flavor, we're going to start off with some parsley, about 1 tablespoon. And then we're going to use some basil. We're going to use it out of the jar today, but we do recommend to use fresh basil if you can get it at your grocery store. Sprinkle that. And then, of course, some salt and pepper to taste. This is really to your liking.
Okay, and the final ingredient is just some milk. The milk helps keep the meatballs moist, as well as bring it all together with the cheese and the breadcrumbs and the eggs. By the way, this can be done in any order you really choose. It doesn't have to be done in the order that we did it. So I will add 4 tablespoons of milk. Again, this is for the quantity of the meat that I've chosen. You can obviously just multiply based on how many of them you plan on serving. So once that is all added, the last step is just to bring the meatballs all together. Before we do that though, I'm going to have Christy drizzle some olive oil just in the bottom of the baking dish that we're going to bake the meatballs in. Once I form the meatballs, we're just going to roll them in this olive oil. That will give the meatballs a great flavor once it bakes in, and it will also prevent them from sticking to the bottom of the baking dish. So once you have everything in the bowl, it's just time to get dirty. So bring it all together. Make sure you get the eggs really mixed in there well. And you'll do this, once you do this a couple times, you'll get the feel for whether you have enough of the breadcrumbs and whether you have enough of the cheese and the other binding agents that are in the meat. If they're too moist, you can add a little bit more breadcrumbs. Christy usually assists me with that since my hands are so dirty. Once it's all mixed together, it's just a matter of forming the meatballs into the shape and the size that you're looking for your meal. What I will typically do is I will just grab a piece of the meat and I'll put it in my hands and I'll get a feel for whether that's the right size or not. And that is typically the size that I make. So once we roll them between our hands like this, I would just put them right in the baking dish with the oil that's already been drizzled. So again, just grab a bunch of meat, take a little off if you think it's too much. Just roll it between your hands. And then give it a little twist in the olive oil and go on and make your next one. So the quantity of meat that we've chosen here today should serve around 8 people over pasta, unless people are very hungry. But this typically will make about, in this type of dish, about 24 meatballs, depending upon the size. And we always like to make it a little extra to have left over for the week. So once you have all your meatballs made and you're happy with the size, the oven should be preheated to 350, and you should bake the meatballs for about 30 to 35 minutes, depending upon how well done you'd like them. At that point, you can take them out, and if you're making sauce to go with them, you can put them into the pan where you're making your sauce and cook them a little bit more and just get the flavor of the sauce going.
Once your meatballs are cooked, it's time to choose your pasta. We typically like to use pappardelle because it pairs well with the meatballs and the sauce that my husband makes.
Thank you again for letting us share today with you our family recipe for fantastic meatballs, and hope you enjoy.